Bobby, a frustrating game, to say the least, for the Saints.
Well, I mean, especially when they're not better than us. So I say, oh, well, they won the game. I think the way the game was unfolding, it's amazing that when you look what have you done for me lately and how we've played the games. You know, the Bucs at one time, more than 6.5 quarters, they're playing the Saints. This is Tom Brady, the GOAT, without a touchdown, only 3 points. Now, the Saints, on the flip side, scored only 1 touchdown in the last 8 quarters, playing one another. This is the modern-day NFL. So that's interesting. But the bottom line, you might say, well, it's not that simple, but it is. As far as can you take away the football or can you protect it? At one time, the Saints had 3 turnovers in 5 plays. What? You could try and do that and probably not have 3 turnovers in 5 plays. I mean, that to me is unbelievable. The last time we had lost to Tom Brady and the Bucs in the playoffs, you remember in the postseason? Yeah, guess what happened? We were -4 in the turnover margin. Guess what happened today? We're -4 in the turnover margin. You might say, well, no, it's not that easy. But you look at it, when Tom Brady comes to Tampa, we turn the ball over 4 times. Then you give a short field and, you throw in a pick 6, whatever. But in 4 straight regular season wins, when we had Tom Brady's number, now obviously that was not the case today. Tom Brady was nothing special like he's been throughout his career when he's been classified as the GOAT. Tom Brady basically threw for about the same amount that he did in the postseason when he beat us. He threw for 190 yards. This day and age, you think, like, what? You got to be 275, 300 or something? He threw for 190. I want to say in the playoff game, he threw for like 180-something. But there's so many places to start where the game kind of went downhill. But even though it was like, I don't know, it might end up 6-3 to score, whatever, and we're moving the ball, we're pounding them, we're wearing them down. To me, and a lot of things happen after this now. I'm not going to say that Hebert, the game wasn't over. But when Mark Ingram fumbled, then y'all think when Mark Ingram fumbled, how all of a sudden it was like, man, we're in control of this game, even though we're not whooping them, but we're still in control. To me, when that fumble occurred, it kind of was the ebb and flow. Then officials, what? That's a terrible call. Then you have calls going against you. Then you're getting players toss out the game. Then, in other words, a lot of things aren't going your way. And to me, it started with that fumble by Mark Ingram. Again, this is something that you can write home about if we continue to do this. I thought our defense was outstanding because both teams overall, if I said this in the pregame, the last 3.5 years, the Saints and the Bucs were 1-2 against the run. It's not an opinion. That's what occurred. Well, the Saints, we ran on them. Again, if Ingram don't have that fumble, we averaged 5.1 yards an attempt. Now, we only had 20 carries, but when you're playing catch-up at the end, you got to pass the ball. But they had 30 rushing attempts, and they only got 2.4 yards a carry against our defense. That is outstanding. So if that continues, and then also you look at third down defense, they were only, the GOAT, Tom Brady, they were only 29% conversion rate. And we got to get better. We were only 31%. So really, both defenses kicked the offense's ass on third down. You cannot sugarcoat that. And usually, again, we were stout in the red zone. We had the number 1 red zone defense last year, but offensively, we were 50%. And listen, on the touchdown pass, when they finally scored a touchdown, like I said, before it even got points, it was 6.5 quarters, that being Tom Brady. Tom Brady scanned the field. Now, we're only rushing 3. We had 8 in coverage, but he looks down the middle, looks to the left, and then he goes to Perriman on the right side and over the top with P.J. Williams. But we got to get way more pressure on the opposing quarterback. Like, look, right now, this is not good. We're not going to win 10 games. We're not going to be a playoff team if we're on the minus side in the turnover margin. I'm telling you that right now. Well, guess what? We're a +1 after the Atlanta game. Well, now we're -3 for the season. So we got to turn that around. We're going to go to Carolina. I don't know what's going to happen. Can we end up +2 and start to trend in that direction? you're not going to get anything done. Us being, minus 4 in the turnover margin now, -3 for the season. Penalties. Now, I said this before the game. This crew was a flag-happy crew. I think Tampa Bay got a couple of bogus calls against them. You're being overprotective with the helmet. I mean, players are trying to lead with their shoulder, but the game is so fast, and players dug their heads, and you might have helmet-to-helmet contact. It was like penalties against Tampa and against the Saints, particularly in the second half, that
17
cost us.
total.
Yeah,
17 total.
They just flag happy. We had 9. I told you never want 9 or more penalties or around 100 yards. Where Tampa had 101 yards. So to me, that's a push. I'm not going to complain about the officials because I think at times Tampa Bay got robbed, and definitely in meaningful times the Saints got robbed in the second half. But Christian, that is a crew that was flag happy. But I still think way too many penalties. Is that a sign maybe of an undisciplined team? I know Dennis Allen has to address this. We've had now 17 penalties. We had 8 for 99 yards against Atlanta. And now we had 9 for 60 yards. So you need to have like 4 or 5 if you truly discipline. Now, it might depend on the crew, the officials who's calling the game. I think the first 2 games, we had the officials that wanted to be involved, and they wanted to be flag happy. Now, the one thing that I thought, who stepped up and until looked at the numbers, they kind of silent. This might be his best game in a Saints uniform. Christian, you got to give him. I know you gave it to the national anthem singer, but we got to give honorable mention at least to Shy Tuttle.
I will. We got that a little later in the program.
Yeah, because and let me tell you, Shy Tuttle, 9 total tackles from an interior guy. You never see that. He had a half a sack with Onyemata on that one. That was really the only time we got after Brady. One quarterback hurry. He got a pass defended, knocked it down. I thought Pete Werner had 6 individual tackles, 8 total. He was very active, kind of set the tone at the beginning of the game. Very similar, him being active like he was against the Falcons. But you can't turn over the ball. I mean, you cannot sugarcoat it. That's the bottom line when all said and done. You're just not going to win. The NFL is too good. But I don't even want to give Tampa Bay even credit. But you got to give them credit because they won the game. But it wasn't nothing that, we just lucky to be on the field with Tampa. Tampa's not that good. Now you might say, well, the Saints aren't that good. Well, I just think we could play with them and compete with them to represent the NFC. We're still in the hunt, but I know you got to protect the football. Looking at Jameis Winston, at times a little too up and down, like his decision making, and but that's something that has to be and it will be addressed. But the 6 sacks and end up having a touchdown, it just seems like being footloose and fancy free at the end. He was able to move the ball, but that's also Tampa Bay understanding the circumstance and where that. I think you saw really 2 stout defenses going against one another. You have to remember until at the end, because I look at that like kind of a garbage touchdown, and basically 8 quarters. Now, I guess you could count it, but still, talking about scoring defense. Yeah. Looking against the Cowgirls and now against the Saints, they've given up 13 points total. 13 points total, and to me, they really gave up like about 6.
Yeah.
If you don't look at the end. So as stout and the confidence we have in our defense, I think Tom Brady, one reason why maybe came back, and we should have dominated that offensive line. And look all the receivers they had out. The one thing I think Tom Brady looks at, and they have a defensive head coach now, and as long as they win, Tom Brady, they might, when all said and done, who that nation watch, that's going to be a team we're going to want to win kind of like them. Now, we got to do it with our defense, and they're going to want to run the ball. They're going to want to run the ball. It's not going to be all leaned upon Tom Brady. Now, you might say when they have all their weapons back, they might want to do that. But if you look how this game unfolded, they were going to run Leonard Fournette, whether it was going to work or not. And Leonard Fournette only averaged 2.7 yards a carry. Leonard Fournette didn't do anything. He ran all over Dallas. And like I said, we stopped him overall defensively. And I thought the critical fumble the critical turn in the game was when, man, we were like gashing them, and then when Mark Ingram fumbled, and then all of a sudden it seemed like the tide kind of turned.